What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of No Mercy with yours truly, Stephen A. Smith, coming at you several times a week, as I always love to do. Anytime you want to check out my podcast, any place there are free podcasts, you can check out No Mercy with Stephen A. Smith. We're here in my studio thanks to our official studio sponsor, FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is the official sports betting company of the No Mercy podcast. Listen, there's a lot that's happened this week in the world of professional sports, but as I often try to highlight and point out, sports is a microcosm of society. So time you got people out there that are saying, listen, it's what's going on in the real world. We come to sports to get away from that. No, you go to the games to get away from that. But when it comes to sports, the culture of sports, the world of sports, professional, collegiate, et cetera, you're going to have to deal with real life issues. This week, it was Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. And the kind of trouble he got himself in because he showed the world that he had a proclivity for strip clubs. He was at the strip club, half naked, waving a gun around. That prompted an investigation by the NBA that ultimately led to an 8-game suspension, 5 games served. So really, he's got 3 games to go. Along with a meeting with the commissioner to ensure that these kind of transgressions don't necessarily happen again. And for those of you who say, what transgressions? Here's the transgression. You showed yourself wagging a gun. NBA ain't partial to that. You represent their brand. Doing that compromises their brand. Compromises their brand and compromises their bottom line. As a result, they're going to compromise your bottom line, which is why Ja Morant has cost himself over $668,000 because of the games that he missed. So let's get that out the way. And if you want to really, really think about life, and you want to say, hey, that guess what? Sports should be separate and apart from society. Tell that to the 23-year-old young lady, Jamia Harris, if I remember her name correctly, who was shot and killed in Alabama. And 2 people were charged with capital murder. One of them was a now former player for the Alabama basketball team, which, by the way, finished regular season ranked number 1 in the nation, is the number 1 seed in the South, and is projected to be one of the favorites to win the national title. That brother was on that team. 23 years of age. Life over. Over. He says he didn't shoot her, somebody else shot her. But it's clear he's the one that got the gun from a teammate's car and brought it to the shooter. If he didn't shoot himself, he's the one that brought the gun to the shooter. And that's why they were both indicted on capital murder charges. Over. That's his life. Over at age 23. One mistake. If he could take back 5 to 10 minutes of his life, he'd be competing in the NCAA tournament for a national title starting today. Starting this weekend. So I just want to make sure we all understand what's going on. We want to make sure we all understand that you don't get to just summarily dismiss that sports has everything to do with society. And if you don't believe that point that I'm making, listen to this statement from Commissioner Adam Silver of the National Basketball Association in talking about Ja Morant following his meeting with Ja Morant. Quote, Ja's conduct was irresponsible, reckless, and potentially very dangerous. It also has serious consequences given his enormous following and influence, particularly among young fans who look up to him. Ja has expressed sincere contrition and remorse for his behavior. Ja has also made it clear to me that he has learned from this incident and that he understands his obligations and responsibility to the Memphis Grizzlies and the broader NBA community extend well beyond his play on the court. Do I need to say any more? In case I do, for the ignorant out there amongst you. Ja Morant has a 5-year contract extension that kicks in next season that's going to pay him for 5 years, potentially in excess of $231 million. $231 million. $230 million. That's what's going on right now. Next season, because the salary is at $12 million right now. $12.1 million, $12.119 million to be exact. That's what Ja Morant's salary is at right now for this season. You know he's getting paid next year? That's $33 million, $33.7 million to be exact. 33.5, I'm sorry, to be exact. That's $408,000 per game. That's what Ja Morant is scheduled to get paid bare minimum starting next season for the next 5 years. That doesn't include the Nike contract with the signature deal he's got coming down the pike. It doesn't include his deal with Powerade because, again, it's a relaunch. It was set to debut this month to start off March Madness. Executives say it'll be the biggest marketing blitz in the brand's 36-year history. That was what was scheduled to happen starting today. We don't know when we'll see that now. All because you were in a strip club half naked, waving a gun, and doing other things we won't repeat. So those kind of things are going on. And then you got folks that'll sit up there and be like, what'd he do? What'd he do? Did he break any laws? Like Paul Pierce did last week. You know good and damn well it ain't about breaking any laws. You know good and well it's about the imagery. You know good and well that if this was Commissioner Stern, the former commissioner that Paul Pierce played under when he was starring for the Boston Celtics, Ja would have been going a minimum of 15 to 20 games. There were some people that thought that David Stern would have suspended him for the year. I don't think it would have been that severe. But he suspended him about 15 games. Because we understand that when you're representing a business, when you're representing a brand, you're not just beholden to yourself. You're beholden to that brand too, which means the people in your inner circle, whether it's your parents, whether it's your family members like siblings, whether it's your boys, whoever the case may be, they represent you. Years ago, I got into some hot water because a player's wife was complaining about an abundance of things and ended up in the news for it. And I said that, wait a minute, you represent him. And people try to turn it into a gender issue, not realizing I'm the same dude that would have said, Bill Clinton, you're representing Hillary Rodham Clinton. She's the one running for president. Your days as president are over. When she was running for election in 2016, you can't find yourself in a compromising situation that could basically derail her aspirations for the White House. It's not about gender. It's about corporate. And we hate corporate. And I don't blame people for hating corporate. I don't blame people for it getting on their last nerves because you got to dot every I and cross every T and you got to watch everything that you say and do. I don't blame people for being annoyed by it. What I blame people for is acting like you get to ignore it or encouraging other people to ignore it when you know they got their hand out for other people's money. When those same people in pursuit of money will capitulate to some degree to make sure they get paid, but you're going to encourage other people not to capitulate. That's phony. It's BS. And I'm one of those people like, nah, don't do that. We all want to do what we want to do, when we want to do it, how we want to do it. We all want to be our own bosses. We all want to do what Floyd Money Mayweather said he does, and which is why he's truly, truly free. Because he said true freedom is getting up when you want and going to sleep when you want, without having to worry about anything. He's right about that. But he gets to do it because he's made over $1 billion in his career as a boxer. The rest of us, it's a different kind of problem. We got to capitulate to some degree. And all I'm saying is, if I know that I got to capitulate to some degree because I work for the mouse or I have my own podcast, but there's advertisers and sponsors like FanDuel and others who support this podcast and this brand, I can't just ignore what FanDuel needs. I got an obligation to be sensitized to what their desires and needs are too. While they help me out, I got to help them out. Quid pro quo. Stop acting like you don't know. That's what message was sent to Ja Morant the other day by the commissioner and by the advertisers and sponsors who endorse him or who want him to endorse them. That's what he was told. That's why you saw him up there sitting down with my man Jalen Rose saying, I accept responsibility for my actions. It was wrong what I did, and what kind of situation I found myself in. And I just have to apologize to my family, the Memphis Grizzlies organization, the NBA community, and fans everywhere. Why do you think he said all of that? Because he knew he had to. I'm not saying he wasn't sincere. I'm just saying he knew he had to. That's how it goes, y'all. That's how it is. Deal with that. And by the way, as an aside, I kind of disagree with Patrick Beverley, but I don't find his point ignorant or anything like that. But when he blamed gangster rap for Morant's situation, talking about, I think music has a lot to do with this now, especially with this culture. Everybody holding the gun in the video is okay. Bling on your teeth, that's okay. Pants halfway down your behind, that's okay. The culture is now shoot 'em up, bang, bang, shoot 'em up, bend you over. I got this amount of money. I'm on private jets. That's what the younger generation is. Patrick Beverley, but he wasn't completely wrong now. It might not be applicable specifically to Ja Morant because Ja Morant is a young man. He's not a child. But the point that Patrick Beverley was making, it's not completely off kilter. Let's be clear about that. If he had committed a crime, they wouldn't sit up there and say, well, you know what? You're young and you're too oblivious to know the consequences of your actions. No, they'd have him behind in jail like Darius Miles from Alabama. That's the difference. But in the end, we've learned our lesson. We all should learn our lessons. Anybody in a position of influence, making gobs of money, you're a celebrity figure. You got to watch the company you keep. You got to watch who you're around. You got to watch it all. You got to watch yourself. Period. That's what comes along with requiring somebody else's money. That was my first necessary tape to distribute to y'all. But don't worry, I got more. Stick around. It's No Mercy with your boy, Stephen A. My man, Jalen Rose, who sat down with Ja Morant. He's up next in a minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about an amazing place. We're talking about Etsy. We're talking about a place where you can find rugs, sofas, jackets, wall art, jewelry, furniture, all in one online marketplace. And the best part, you're supporting independent sellers and the beautiful items they make. Etsy has items for all budgets and any occasion. You might be going holiday shopping for your significant other, or you might want to buy your child a gift to bring to their teacher. Whatever it is, guess what? They've got it. I know they had it for me. I was looking for some furniture for my new crib. I found it. I found a beautiful sofa, beautiful coffee table next to it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I bought it, damn it. And I had a good time with it, okay? New to Etsy. Use the code NEW for 10% off your first purchase. That's code NEW. Maximum discount value of $50. Offer ends June 30th, 2023. See terms at etsy.com/terms. For home style and gifts, shop etsy.com. That's ETSY.com. Guess what, y'all? Etsy has it. I'm going to let y'all all in on a little secret here, okay? I want to go gluten-free. I'm not there yet, but I'm aiming to get there, okay? And that's why I'm so thankful that Green Chef exists. Some of us are trying to live healthy lifestyles, you know. Some of us need to live certain dietary lifestyles, whether due to an allergy or a particular preference. And that's why a lot of people, including myself, are thankful for Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well with meals that fit every lifestyle. Keto, check. Vegan, check. Gluten-free, check. All made possible because they bring you 30-plus recipes every week. I'm talking sesame ginger chicken for you keto and gluten-free folks. I'm licking my fingers right now after that last bite because that pan sauce, is so good. Let me tell you something. And their meals are protein-packed, if you so choose. 3 items each week. In their newest collection, have an average of 40 grams of protein per serving. Greek chicken salad, enchilada spiced turkey bowls. If you want to bulk, they've got the protein. This is me telling you to shake off that winter slump and start spring by eating well with some delicious recipes. Go to greenchef.com/mercy60 and use code MERCY60 to get 60% off plus free shipping. That's greenchef.com/mercy60 and use code MERCY60 to get 60% off plus free shipping. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. Considering what we've been talking about and the kind of things that we've been going through over the last few weeks, I couldn't think of anybody better to talk to than my next guest. It's my brother. We on countdown together, NBA countdown together. He just broke news, did an outstanding job interviewing Ja Morant just the other day. Right after he came out of the office of the commissioner of the NBA, he got that exclusive interview. I'm talking about the man, the myth himself, former member of the Fab Five, former 13-year veteran in the NBA, the one and only Jalen Rose. What's going on, Big Time? How are you, man?
How's everything? What up, though, my brother? How you doing? I see the No Mercy trending all over the place, so I'm glad to be a part of the show.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Let's get right to it because I don't want to keep you too long. You talked to Ja Morant, but more importantly than that, Jalen, I want to know, as a guy that was a former star athlete, that knows the streets, knows what these brothers deal with quite often. How did it hit you when Ja Morant got himself in this kind of situation? What were the kind of thoughts that went through your mind?
To be honest, Stephen A., I took it personal. As you know, I got drafted by the Nuggets. So I literally could look myself in the mirror and realize when I was 21, 22, I was not only in his shoes, but I was in that place. I've been to Shotgun Willie's multiple times, by the way.
The strip club where he was. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And so for me, I thought about him being a young man who the sky's the limit for his potential on the floor, but how magnetic of a personality he is off the floor, and how not only fans and media, but also young people in particular have gravitated to not only his affection of being a terrific player, but also just him as a person. And so for me, the first thing that went through my mind is he has way too much to lose to be putting himself in that situation. But another thing I saw, Stephen A., to be like really frank with you, I saw a little unhappiness and I saw a little pain. Because what ends up happening is a lot of times people think when you have fame or you have celebrity or you have money that you're exempt from anxiety, you're exempt from being hurt. And so for me, it was almost a cry for help as much as it was a flex with the shirt off and the gun. And so that's how I digested it. And that's why I was really happy I got a chance to interview him.
You know, the interesting thing that strikes me is that, like you said, that anxiety, that unhappiness, you know, sometimes, Jalen, I think it's all right to ask where it's coming from, because you've had a successful career. Obviously, in this business, I've had a successful career. I was never a star athlete. I tried to play. You played. I tried to play. You played. Okay. So but the point that I'm trying to make is that neither one of us was on Ja Morant's level. And
Correct.
Yet we see the vultures. We see the people that are in our lives. And sometimes that unhappiness is projected as coming from somebody like the media or whatever, when in fact, it's really coming from those closest to you. Did you get that impression from Ja Morant at all?
I did. And it's a lot of pressure because when you get drafted, like, you're a member of the family, you're a member of the crew. But once you started getting those NBA checks, you're not a leader. These people are now your friends, but your staff. And you're trying to help everybody else's dreams come true with your money, because your dream is now happening and you're trying to reward everybody around you. And then there's this keeping it real, keeping it street, keeping it hood. And one of the funniest things that actually is sad that came out of the interview I did with him is so many people immediately jumped to the fact that I asked him whose gun was he carrying. And the crazy thing, and you know this extremely well because you pride yourself on being a capitalist, that question is for somebody that works in corporate America.
That's right.
That's trying to protect his interests so that he can keep his sponsors and save his legacy and his career. That's what that is about.
That's
and
right.
So,
but
so
let me interrupt because let me crystallize what you're saying for those that may not understand it. You helped the brother by asking him the question. Because what you was doing was giving him an opportunity to clarify, it wasn't his corporate America. It wasn't his. But instead, you got people clearly from our community. Why you had to even ask him that question, man? Why you had to even go there? That not seeing the big picture. That's what you're saying, correct?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. And what ends up happening is the NBA, the NFL, they're primarily Black. And when we make it to the league, now it's our job to try to uplift ourselves and uplift our family. But sometimes you just can't change the mentality. And so what ends up happening for the player or the celebrity or the entertainer or whatever, you trying to show that you can be great at your craft, but also I'm still down. I can still, roll like I used to roll, so to speak, and you can't do that anymore. And that was a lesson that not only he learned, but I could tell and speaking to him, he learned that hard lesson. He learned it fast. This may sound crazy to some people, but I think this is the best thing that could have happened to him at this point of his life.
I don't think it sounds crazy.
He nobody got injured. He didn't get arrested. He got an 8-game suspension by the NBA. And from now on, he's going to fly straight. Because when they take that game away from you and sponsors start pulling away from you, and you start seeing how people now start to paint you as a villain, then that becomes the wake-up call that he needed. And I think that make him a better person and a better player going forward.
What were your thoughts about what Patrick Beverley, former Laker, now a Chicago Bull, had to say in terms of he blamed, the culture that we're living in, rap music, the hip hop industry, all of that. He blamed that, the kind of music these cats are listening to, as playing a role in Ja Morant finding himself in this particular situation. Folks laughed it off, but if you listen to what Patrick Beverley said, I'm not saying he was completely accurate, but I do know it made sense to some degree, and a lot of people listen to that, and a lot of people might have felt the same way. What were your thoughts?
So we are what we consume, right? So whatever energy, whatever music, whatever movies you download, of course, that becomes a part of your psyche, which then becomes a part of your behavior, and you act on a lot of that stuff. But I don't believe that that's a major factor in how decisions get made, in particular in Ja Morant's case, because we're surrounded by hip hop now. Stephen A., you from Hollis, Queens, and somebody I met actually today at the airport told me to tell you what's up. They say it's to catch the subway or something with you back in the day. Right. But what ended up happening is as hip hop turns 50, it's not just the music anymore. It's a lifestyle. It's how we speak. It's how we dress. It's DJing. It's graffiti. And now it's in corporate America. I remember being in locker rooms in the late 80s and we was playing tapes. And then getting into college, and the only rap music you heard in arenas or gyms was like, "Whoop, there it is," or "This Is How We Do It" by Montel Jordan. But now rap music has become mainstream to where companies, billion-dollar companies, are using it to sell products. And these artists are becoming mainstream superstars in the homes of suburban America. So I can't now blame rap music for the behavior of young people when rap music and hip hop lifestyle is around us 24/7, 365.
Here's also the bottom line. Ja Morant is 23. He ain't 3. You can't blame the hip hop industry in that. You're a grown man. You know better. And folks are quick to tell us they're men, right? So when you're a man, you got responsibility. You got to handle that. I want to get to a bigger issue before I let you get on out of here, because you've got your charter school in Detroit. I want you to remind my audience, the name of your school and some of the things that you're trying to do there before I get to my next question. Tell them about your school for a second.
Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. We're 12 years in existence. We're open enrollment. We're tuition free. We're public charter. We get 0 state funding for our facility. And one of the things that I'm extremely proud of is that basically we coined what's a 9 through 16 model, which means we're not only servicing the current 400 plus young people that we have in high school, but also in secondary education. Once they graduate, we have another 600 alums that we also influence. So whether that's community college, 4-year college, trade school, cosmetology, military, whatever they decide to do, we're still there to give them the resources, give them the support that they need. Because when you and I were growing up, you could make six figures right out of high school. And your work ethic can a lot of times put you in position to get that job that you want. But right now, right out of high school, these young people need that secondary education and that secondary push. And I feel like in the United States of America, we basically give up on our young people after high school, but the job isn't done.
When you look at the world of professional sports and professional athletes in this day and age, and some of the storylines and some of the things that we're compelled to focus on far too often than we would prefer, do you think that that's helping educate and assist in the education and the upliftment of the kind of kids you're helping with the Jalen Rose Academy? Or is it more detrimental than it's ever been?
I think, well, first and foremost, like being educated is something that I appreciated about being an athlete that people underestimate. Because you're required to stay eligible. Yeah. While you're in high school, you're required to still be able to compete scholastically. I went to college at the University of Michigan. That's considered an Ivy League school of the Midwest in a lot of ways. And I got my college degree. So education for me was always important. And it will always be important for young people. But the thing I want to drill down on that you asked is that your education is more than just the grades that you get. It's more than just like the A's, B's, and C's. It's the sacrifice. It's the ability to concentrate, the discipline that you have in order to invest in yourself, in order to put yourself in position. And we're not just teaching the young people, Stephen A., in the classroom. We're teaching them life skills, social skills, etiquette, problem solving, decision making, life education as well is very important. And so I'm really proud of what our scholars have and will continue to accomplish. But I'll always be a champion for young people being educated. Another thing I want to just make sure I clarify about a charter school when I got into this is that I remember like being a part of all these legislation meetings and stuff like that in a room full of people, and people were trying to say that, oh, you're starting a charter school, so you're stealing students from the public school. Like, that's game. That's cap. We are a public school. And what I began to learn is that the teachers union is one of the number one donors to the Democratic Party. So therefore, in order to be in a charter school, you give up one word: tenure. And what is tenure, everybody? That means that you could teach basically for 2 or 3 years, and regardless of your outcomes, and basically have that job forever. Yeah. But if you teach at a charter school, then you're judged by your achievements in the classroom and your merit. Mm-hmm. And so people that are in the teachers union don't want teachers to now be a part of charter schools because it interrupts their tenure. I got you. Let me get this last question to you, Jalen, going back to, the state of affairs in the world of professional sports, because I appreciate that breakdown. I got to ask you this, and I'm going to end the interview by asking you this question. Are you more enthused or more worried about the state of professional sports and the athletes that bless us with their skill sets? Are you more enthused or are you more concerned than ever before? 6 in one hand, a half a dozen in the other. If you wanted to give me a direct answer, I would say concerned, because the more money you make, the more profile that you have, that should be the more responsibility. And the number one way you show that you accept that responsibility, for me, is loyalty. A lot of times when you're not required to stay with the team that drafted you, of course. But what ends up happening is, I think players start to make it about them. Before, we used to root for our favorite teams and our favorite players. Now people just root for their favorite players because a lot of times that person doesn't feel a sense of loyalty to the city, doesn't feel a sense of loyalty to the team, doesn't sense a sense of loyalty to their teammates. And then the other thing, and you hated the process in Philly, and they still haven't gotten to the conference finals. That's right. They still haven't gotten to the NBA finals. That's right. The are fighting for a player position. If any time when LeBron James is out, you need Anthony Davis in the lineup.
Damn right.
And if he's going to miss a back-to-back game against Houston, that's not just about the game at Houston for the fans that didn't get a chance to see him play. It's showing me and you that how important is it for you to even make the playoffs if you're going to miss a game as a healthy scratch at this point of the career. So now when the collective bargaining happening, and you know this extremely well, my brother, all the owner's going to do is stand on the table and try to fight for guaranteed money. They're going to try to fight for percentages of how they pay salaries based on the number of games that get played. I'm a Detroiter and a Pistons fan. And so there was a time when I was going to Pistons games and I realized the first or the second best player on most teams, when they come to Detroit, they're not even playing.
Yeah.
They like saving it for when they get to the Garden or saving it when they get to the big stage. So I am worried about that.
All right. Jalen Rose, I know you got to go. I got to go, man. Appreciate your time, man. We're going to have a longer conversation down the road, especially about the Jalen Rose Academy, man. I appreciate you, my man. Thanks so much.
Love and appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for showing up in Detroit the way you did with our boss, Dave Roberts, for WGPR and the relaunch. The kids are still talking about it. I got a ton of books that I please need you to sign so I can put them in the school library. They all big fans of yours. Most of them either want to be like you or look up to you. So thank you for being the inspiration.
My pleasure. It's the same with you, my man. And again, congratulations on that Ja Morant interview. You did a great job, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot.
I'll see you soon. All right, bro.
You got it. All up.
Oh, baby, March basketball is here, and there's no better place to watch the action and get in on the action yourself than with FanDuel Sportsbook. This March, take your first shot at college hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right, just bet $20 on a bracket and you'll land $200 in bonus bets. Win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to point spread to that 5 versus 12 seed matchup you've been eyeing. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. There's no better place to bet on the tournament than FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going on to FanDuel.com/mercy and make every moment more with FanDuel. All tournament long.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgaminghelp.com Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. 1-800-522-4700 Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net West Virginia.
You know me. You know I'm all about getting ahead, whether it's my career or my well-being. I'm all about the hustle, and that's why I'm getting ahead of the thinning hair with Nutrafol's whole body approach to hair growth. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth, thickness, and visible scalp coverage. They go beyond genetics to multi-target the root causes of thinning, like stress and nutrition. And Lord knows I need it for all those reasons above. And you want consistent, reliable results. In a clinical study, men showed progressive improvement in hair growth and thickness after 3 and 6 months. That's why it's trusted and recommended by more than 3,000 top doctors. Plus, they don't use any ingredients I wouldn't want in or on my body. You can grow thicker, healthier hair and support our show by going to Nutrafol.com/men and entering the promo code MERCY to save $15 off your first month's subscription. This is their best offer anywhere, and it's only available to U.S. customers for a limited time. Plus, free shipping on every order. Get $15 off at Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, promo code MERCY. Thanks again to my man Jalen Rose coming on the show. No Mercy with yours truly, Stephen A. Smith. I really, really appreciate it, taking time out of his busy schedule, not just to talk about Ja Morant, but to talk about the culture that we're living in and how he's concerned and why. Because we should be. the reality of the situation is that power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And you have a lot of people who believe that based on the money that they have, they don't have a concern in the world because their definition of freedom is being able to not have to be concerned about paying their bills. I understand that. But in order to make sure that your bottom line, your dollars aren't compromised, that doesn't mean you don't have to capitulate to some degree. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to capitulate to some degree. I love when Jay-Z sit up there and say, don't ever, ever go with the flow, be the flow. And he does that freestyle rapping, and I get what he's saying. But you know something that Jay-Z left out? He still got to pay Uncle Sam. Remember when Kanye West said that he was a billionaire and they can't touch me? They dropped him the next day. He lost $1.5 billion in a day. Everyone can be touched. Everyone can be touched. The world doesn't allow for a human being to be untouchable. Everyone can be touched. It's just something we have to all remember. I want to get to a couple of other necessary takes that I wanted to give before I get on out of here today. And I just want to go down to the list, okay? You know, when I go to the Oscars, first of all, I see all of this stuff about the disappointment on Angela Bassett's face when Jamie Lee Curtis won the Oscar for her small role in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Ladies and gentlemen, this ain't the place to come if you're looking for some negativity about Angela Bassett, who is the queen. I mean, my God, to be in her 60s, to look as drop dead gorgeous and fit, to be the sensational actress, the accomplished actress as she is, to be highly intelligent with the smile, with the seriousness, with the integrity, with the class, and everything in between. I don't know how she was feeling. But if she was disappointed, so what? So what? Was it right for her to expect an Oscar over Jamie Lee Curtis, considering the role that Jamie Lee Curtis played in Everything Everywhere All at Once? Maybe. That's for somebody else to debate. I know one thing I did have a problem with. That singer-songwriter, while I didn't have any problem with Angela Bassett, that singer-songwriter Tems, T-E-M-S is how they pronounce the name, made a bold-fashioned statement at the 95th Academy Awards, the Oscars in Hollywood last Sunday. Saw that cloud-like dress she had on? I suppose it was nice. But how rude? How rude? I mean, it just blocked everything behind her. I mean, she didn't want nobody else to watch the Oscars. You know how rude you got to be to roll up in the Oscars and sit down with that dress knowing that there were people behind you. You blocking about 20 different people from seeing the daggone Oscars. You know how rude you have to be? Just no regard. None. I mean, sometimes I wonder about some of us with the couth, man. Come on now. Just sheer consideration. Come on. Come on. So that stood out. Sierra, the wife of Russell Wilson for the Denver Broncos, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, at the Vanity Fair after party. Sierra's beautiful. She's gorgeous. Very talented, real good people, the whole bit. Call me whatever you want. I'm a man. My wife is not showing up with that dress like that in public. She's just not. She's not showing all of that in public like that. She's just not. I'm married. That's not happening. Y'all call me whatever y'all want. Call me whatever you want. My wife's not showing up dressed like that. She's not dressed like the damn. You're going to have more clothes on than that. You're going to have more clothes on than that. I'm just saying. I'm going to leave it at that. Props, by the way, to HBCU grad Hampton University's Ruth Carter. Made history at the Oscars. Became the first black woman to win her second Academy Award for costume design for Black Panther. Wakanda forever. Okay? That stood out. And the other thing I want to get into was Chris Rock. Last Laugh. Apparently he has it. Netflix comedy special. ranked at number 8 with 17.8 million hours viewed. According to Netflix, the special ranked in the top 10 in 7 countries. So props to my man, Chris Rock. I want to say this. I want to end this by getting into Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, for the longest time, I've made the statement, I don't think there's a Democrat that would beat Ron DeSantis. Question is, can he beat Trump? Or can he win a Republican nomination if he's threatening to beat Trump and then Trump disbands from the Republican Party, goes the independent route, thereby stealing votes from the Republican nominee, ensuring the Democratic Party will then win re-election. Basically, Trump is holding the Republican Party hostage in that regard. I will tell you this. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, again, I don't see any Democrat beating him if there's no third party and it's just him running against the Democratic nominee. But he is getting flack from both sides of the aisle for saying that the United States helping in Ukraine is not a vital American interest. There's the same Ron DeSantis that has decided it is vital to America's interest to go after Disney, who I work for, because I work for ESPN, who does feel it's vital to America's interest to ban books from schools, to go after drag queens, etc. This is that Ron DeSantis. That's what he's doing. And we all know that's what he's doing. Here's my thing. I was reading some article, and I pulled it up now because I saw it it's called The Intelligencer. All right? I think it's a part of New York Magazine. I'm not sure. But it's called The Intelligencer. NewYorkMag.com. That's what popped up. And it says here a couple of things about Ron DeSantis. And Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina, who announced her presidency, the same woman that Don Lemon for CNN felt was over the hill, beyond her prime, rather, to be exact, which is patently false, by the way. Should have never said that. Not true. She's not some runway model. She's running for the presidency. She's 51 years old. What are you talking about? But I'm not going to pile on Don Lemon. This is what Nikki Haley said about the whole Ron DeSantis Trump thing, which I thought was important to point out. President Trump is right when he says Governor DeSantis is copying him. First in his style, then on entitlement reform, and now on Ukraine. I have a different style than President Trump, and while I agree with him on most policies, I do not on those. Republicans deserve a choice, not an echo. So what they're implying is DeSantis essentially trying to imitate, if not flat out steal, Trump's playbook because he doesn't want to lose Trump voters. He wants to give Trump voters an alternative. See, I'm a lot like Trump, so vote for me because my policies would mirror his, except I'm smarter. I'm a more astute politician. Hell, I might be the more decent choice. That's what he's doing. The point is when you see the tragedy that's taking place in Ukraine, when you see the fact that they've been invaded by Russia and Vladimir Putin, when you see dead bodies in the streets that they're now chronicling, when you see the aid that they're in need of just to fend off Russia and fight themselves, the little men who could, and by the way, they've been giving Russia hell. When you see all of this and you say it's not vital to the American interest, Are most people going to feel that way? When you look at DeSantis, the bottom line is this. He's trying to show you he's a better choice than Trump. That shouldn't be hard to do if you're an accomplished Republican governor who won elections just months ago by 19% and over 1 million votes. Shouldn't be that difficult. The fact that it appears to be, in your eyes, not just highlights the still formidability of Donald Trump, it also shows how desperate you are to curry votes. Knowing how this nation, at least half this nation, felt about Trump, knowing that over 80 million people voted, they didn't vote for Joe Biden, they voted against him. Knowing that's the reality and still feeling compelled to mirror and emulate him in most ways shows desperation. And if you're that desperate, it's entirely plausible that America may say, the hell with it, we might as well stick with who we've got. Even if it is Joe Biden, who's going to be 82 years old once the 2024 election rolls around. So forgive me because I had to step away, sort of change my clothes a little bit because I got to run out for an appointment, you ladies and gentlemen. That's why I'm dressed a little bit different than I was when I was talking about the stuff I was talking about earlier. You've heard my comments about Ron DeSantis. You heard me allude to him sort of capitulating to that audience, trying to grab some of Trump's folks. Donald Trump is coming. He's coming. And let me be very, very clear, possibly reiterating myself, no doubt. I don't believe there's a Democrat that I've seen that would beat Ron DeSantis in the general election. I've said it earlier, I'm going to say it again. But I do believe there are an abundance of Democrats who would beat Trump. Because to me, 80 million plus people never voted for Joe Biden. They voted against Donald Trump. So to me, the only way that DeSantis could lose is if Trump, recognizing that DeSantis is going to win the Republican nomination, decides to go the independent route, be virtually a third candidate, and as a result, steal votes away from the votes that DeSantis would inevitably get as the Republican candidate straight up against a Democrat. Why do I bring this up? Why did I reiterate that point? Because news hit that former President Donald Trump will be allowed back on YouTube after a more than 2-year ban. This is what YouTube reported Friday morning, as in today. YouTube Public Policy VP Leslie Miller said that beginning Friday, Trump can return to his channel with more than 2.5 million followers and, quote, is no longer restricted and the ability to upload new content is restored. Quote, we've carefully evaluated the continued risk of real-world violence, balancing that with the importance of preserving the opportunity for voters to hear equally from major national candidates in a run-up to an election. I understand what Leslie Miller's saying. Here's my only trepidation. There should be a condition attached to this. I'm not here to tell YouTube or anybody else how to do their business. Hell, I'm on YouTube. What I would say to you is this, though. We've already seen the reports. We've already learned and recognized the fact that assertions that the election was rigged was a lie. It was a fabrication. The condition under which former President Donald Trump should be allowed back on YouTube, in my opinion, is to cease and desist all rhetoric about how the election was stolen. Stop that. This is a democracy. It's bigger than you, even if you feel that way. Kerry Lake's probably feeling that way in Arizona when she was running for office and she lost the midterms. You are entitled to feel the way that you feel, but absent factual evidence to validate your assertions, shut up. Stop it. And if you're Trump, that should not be a hard request to live by, because the reality is we all know what you feel. We all know what you've said. Your feelings are known. They've been known for 3 years. Shut up about that. It's divisive. It compromises the democracy that we live in. Stop doing it. Stop talking about how you were robbed or rigged and all of this other stuff. Go out and beat them. Go out and beat DeSantis. And if you get past him and it's Joe Biden that you're running against, go out and beat him. Stop the talk. That election is long gone. Joe Biden is the president of the United States. Stop being a sore loser, whining and moaning about what might have been. You ain't the president. You haven't been the president since 2021. Get over it. Now run if you want to run for re-election, fine. Moving forward, that's the stipulation that YouTube, I hope, because we don't know definitively what stipulations they apply to former President Trump. I would hope that's one of them. Shut the hell up about a rigged election. And just go out and win. Period. Let me transition back to the world of sports before I get on out of here. You know, this whole Michael Irvin situation that took place Super Bowl week, I got to tell y'all that it really got on my last nerves that everybody was clamoring to hear from me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an HR matter. As a person that contributed to First Take every Monday, as a person who works for the NFL Network, he's a contemporary in this business that has an issue going on, and it's an HR matter. And up to this point, it wasn't for me to say anything. And there's but so much I'm going to say now. Other than this, a few things are important. Michael Irvin is not only my friend, he is my brother. I don't just love working with him, I love him. We have spoken every single week since the Super Bowl ordeal, since the ordeal during Super Bowl week transpired. I love him, and no matter what, I'm his brother and I'm going to be there for him. Period. Having said that, let me also say this. I saw the video. I saw it for the first time 3 days ago. I don't know what happened. All I know is what I saw. What I saw was a 45-second conversation in the lobby. 45 seconds. And then they went their separate ways. That's all I know. I have no idea what was said between him and the young lady he was talking to. I have no idea. And I'm not going to sit here and overstep my bounds, compromise myself, compromise ESPN, compromise No Mercy, compromise anybody by pretending that I know something I don't know. What I will say is that based on that video, I saw absolutely positively nothing incriminating, which is why it explains why Michael Irvin and his lawyers were clamoring for the videos to be shown. And the only reason it's okay for me to comment on it is because the videos have been public, made public, available to the public. Most of us have seen it. And so as a result, it's appropriate for me to comment to this degree about it. What ESPN is going to do, I don't know, because its primary employer is the NFL Network. And a lot is contingent on what they're going to do, I'm sure. And obviously, there's going to be probing. There's going to be investigations. Every I's going to be dotted. Every T's going to be crossed before a decision is made. I can tell you this. I loved Michael Irvin on First Take. I never want to lose him. I love Michael Irvin on television. I never want to see him off television talking football. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? Have y'all been paying attention to the business landscape? Disney itself announced that over 7,000 employees are going to be let go. ESPN is under the Disney umbrella. They're going to have cuts coming. Hell, for all I know, I might be one of them. Now, I doubt that. But it's possible. No one knows. No one knows what's going to happen with him, me, or anybody else in the climate that we're living in. But I get upset when people sit up there and say, we want to hear, we want to hear, we want to hear. Pipe down. I remember years ago when former NFL player and NFL analyst for ESPN, Hugh Douglas, had got into something with Michael Smith when both were at ESPN. Both are friends of mine. I'm cool with both of them. Got love for both of them. Wish they were both still at the network, personally. But when something happened and that became news, the New York Daily News was writing some article getting on me for not speaking up. Well, they're both employees of ESPN. If it's an internal matter that potentially or literally involves human resources, you don't talk about it. Anybody associated with the world of business would tell you that. So when Stephen A is quiet, I'm not running. I'm not running. I just know my lane. I work for somebody. And you don't get to comment on everything because trolls out there are clamoring for you to comment because they want you to say what they want you to say, irregardless of the kind of impact it can have on you because you opened your mouth prematurely, devoid of all the facts, or devoid of letting a business handle their business before you commented, even though you're getting a check from that business and you work for them. Grow up. That's how it works. That's why you didn't hear me comment about Michael Irvin before. That's why there's so much I can say now, because all I know is what I saw in the video and what he tells me. He has emphatically proclaimed his innocence. He is fighting in his mind for his life. Because if somebody, in his words, can accuse him and get away with costing him his career when he says he's done absolutely positively nothing, then all I could say is, I love my brother. Devoid of the facts, I believe what he tells me because I believe in him. It doesn't mean I know anything other than what I saw. And I'm not proclaiming otherwise. But in speaking to him, in literally seeing and hearing him cry, while emphatically proclaiming his innocence, the only reason I'm speaking on this is because A, I want him to know I believe him and I believe in him. And number two, more than anything else, I want him to know I love him. That is my dog. That is my man. I know he's made mistakes in the past. I know he's not perfect. I know he's not flawless. I get all of that. But he is truly one of the best people I know. He's got a beautiful soul. And he's overcome a lot in his life. And if ever there was a time he needed to know that one of his brothers was doing nothing more than expressing love and support for him, it's now. I don't know all the details. I know what he told me. I know what I saw in the video. And I know that from the NFL Network to the NFL to ESPN, that's an HR matter that's out of my lane. I'm not going there. I'm only saying I love my brother. If he tells me he's innocent, somebody gonna have to show me he's guilty. And I'm gonna love him no matter what. It's just that simple. I'm out, y'all. Got to get on out of here. I always tell y'all don't have to know sports to know mercy, and I mean that. But sometimes it pays to know both. Until next time, peace and love, everybody.